Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country.
From my friend The Roots, Michael Harriot, and I actually have an answer. The hollow institution that resides inside Republican Senator Tim Scott's head. No racism there, and apparently no sense either. This week, the sole black Republican in the Senate sounded a stone fool when he said this.
Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country.
Okay, let's be clear. Tim Scott does not represent any constituency other than the small number of sleepy, slow-witted sufferers of Stockholm Syndrome who get elevated to prominence for repeating a false narrative about this country that makes conservative white people feel comfortable. Because when you speak an uncomfortable truth, like Nicole Hannah-Jones, the party that Scott claims is not racist gets big mad and tries to silence you. Just this week, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell asked Education Secretary Miguel Cardona to scrap teaching the 1619 Project in schools because it would reorient the view of American history. Lucky for McConnell, he has his own tap dancer to try and reorient the view of America for him. There were so many contradictions in the senator's speech that it was clear not even Scott believed the words he was speaking. I could go into great detail refuting each of his asinine points, but he did that for me. And moreover, a lesson I've learned, don't argue with people Harriet Tubman would have left behind. And sure, Tim Scott has spoken out about his encounters with law enforcement, and he co-sponsored the anti-lynching bill in the Senate. But there are two sides to every token. So thirsty for white approval, this dude actually stood on the national stage to defend the voter suppression law in Georgia, even though, as of last month, 361 bills were being introduced in 47 states to keep people who look like him out of the ballot box. The ability to shame the ancestors and appease the oppressors all in one speech, that's extreme. Though not quite like the domestic violent extremism that the Department of Homeland Security is investigating within its own ranks, mind you. But please, Senator, say more about how unracist the country is while you trot out that tired line about going from cotton to Congress to clown. Perhaps this was merely Senator Scott's audition to be Sam Jackson's understudy in the film Django, because as a descendant of the enslaved and damn near a daily survivor of institutional racism, I can assure you the question, is America a racist country, is one that has been asked and answered many times over. Yet we still love America, not for what it was, but for what it could be. On this one, you're not only on the wrong side of the aisle, Senator Scott, but you're embarrassingly on the wrong side of history as well.
I had the pleasure of watching this monologue from on AB's channel. I follow ABL as well, and I actually had to address this. Now, Miss Tiffany Cross, she responded to Tim Scott's response to Biden's address to Congress. Now, if you don't know who she is, she's a political analyst and a former news veteran, and she's a former producer with CNN. She's also the host of The Cross Connection with Tiffany Scott on MSNBC. She's a published author of the book Say It Louder, Black Voters, White Narrative, and Saving Our Democracy. She's 43, single, with a net worth of $600K. So you single guys out there, you might want to give her a holler. But officially, there's no response to the response, because if they did, the Republicans and the Democrats would be responding to the response of the response after they responded. But when they control the narrative, they created that moment to respond. They used one of the worst attributes of the African American community. The moment one of us elevate, you call him a sellout or an Uncle Tom. Although she didn't say these words, she may as well. It would have saved her a couple of minutes on her monologue. And yet she was quoted saying that she wanted to be the next Murphy Brown. And if I'm correct, Murphy Brown was white. A TV show. The lead actress was white. Anyway, you just validated everything that he said. Not once did you recommend unity. Your entire ramble preached separation between parties, and more importantly, a divide amongst the African American communities. With every word, you loaded this gun of racism, and you directed these invisible bullets of racism and rhetoric, like you said, the sole black man, or a sleepy, slow-witted sufferer of Stockholm Syndrome. Really? Now, for those of you who don't know what Stockholm Syndrome is, Stockholm Syndrome is when a hostage develops a psychological bond with their captor during a captivity. Now, this element that the Dems and the Republicans have, that you're following, believe that a man of color in a high-ranking position is creating a larger divide, when that's far from the truth. Yeah, we as a nation have a long way to go. And like any scar is, like any cut, it's going to leave a scar. All right. Now, true warriors, we use those scars and we tell stories of how we saved the world. Now, those scars of slavery, yeah, that'll be difficult in the beginning, but you don't start the healing process by putting dirt on an open wound. And another one of your quotes: when you speak an uncomfortable truth, the party that Scott represents tries to silence you. It's funny because the party that you represent silenced me 4 times for speaking that same uncomfortable truth. They also silenced the former president, and yet you call him a dictator. Dictators don't get silenced. They do the silencing. But I digress. And then you said another quote, how Mitch McConnell has his own tap dancer to reorient the view of the Americans. Another negative connotation directed to an African American when you think he's dancing for the master. And in this case, I believe you're wrong again. I mean, you may as well call him a anything like that. You may as well go ahead and say it. I mean, I know you wanted to read that. I mean, you wanted to say that because I'm pretty sure someone wrote this for you. But you look like a very good dancer yourself. Then you referred to him as being asinine, a token, a searching for white approval, a clown, or a clown auditioning to be Sam Jackson's understudy in the movie Django. The party that represents Sam Jackson and African Americans, which I used to be a part of, they said that we are too dumb to get IDs or know how to use a computer in order to locate voting polls or vaccination locations. And then they march. This is the same party that marched a beautiful young woman out there. And she continues the narrative that they started a couple of years, I say about 40, 50 years ago. How a black man is not good enough. Then you shoot off some slanderous adjectives, cutting them off at the knees. Slave masters forbade slaves from reading or learning how to read. They denied that ability. Why? Because they wanted to maintain control. You say you wanted us to unite? Yeah, at first chance, yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah, I want us to unite. But I didn't see unity in anything you said. But the first chance you get after the speech is you divide us over a comment that he said. And my opinion, to be honest, in my opinion, he was building that bridge he spoke about, and you just blew it up. But the question he asked, is America racist? Well, he said, no, it wasn't a question. It was a statement. America is not racist. But let's ask your homegirl.
Senator Tim Scott said last night that America is not a racist country. Do you agree with that? And what do you make of his warning against fighting discrimination with more discrimination?
I believe that we need to address, well, first of all, no, I don't think America is a racist country, but we also do have to speak truth about the history of racism in our country and its existence.
What about the guy you voted for? You and 5 other people.
America isn't racist. Is it?
No, I don't think the American people are racist. But I think after 400 years, African Americans have been left in a position where they are so far behind the 8 ball in terms of education and health, in terms of opportunity. I don't think people are say, I don't want any black person around me or living next to me. I think that's that what's happened is there used to be laws that said a black person couldn't live in that neighborhood. I don't think America's racist, but I think the overhang from all of the Jim Crow and before that slavery have had a cost, and we have to deal with it.
Is America racist? No. But the people running America are using racism to continue that divide and keep up this racial control and separation.